Ladies and gents, welcome back to Bluebaggers Edge. We are here to review another performance that was just flat out lackluster. As you can hear in my voice, I've been yelling, I've been screaming, not out of joy, not out of celebration, but out of a frustration in having seen us go through the motions of yet a terrible second half and witnessing moments of lapses, of a lack of accountability, a lack of defense, moreover. And to be honest, when the siren went, there were supporters jumping around me, Carlton supporters jumping around me, elated that we got the win. But me, I sat firmly in my seat. And it was purely because we did not win the game. It wasn't a win to be celebrated in my eyes. It was a game that Richmond lost. It was a game that had so many holes in it from our perspective. So many of the same issues cropping up last week, as again it did this week. And the big issue, the big takeaway was what I identified in the preview to this game that I was looking for. And yes, the big thing is a four-quarter effort, which didn't happen. But moreover, it was, in my eyes, the zero defensive structure yet again when the opposition starts to get some momentum and pile on a bit of pressure. And to me now, I've spoken about it in the past, and you don't like to be finger pointing and isolating specific individuals as the reasons behind the team performing the way they are. But you just cannot overlook the glaringly obvious now that the coaching is a massive issue. And I know it's a collective. I know the coaches aren't on the field, but it is to do with structure. And that is the one thing that is falling down week after week. And it's persisted across last year, even the year before that. And it's persisted across seasons now, which in my eyes is very, very alarming. It is inexcusable. Let us know if you are tuning in as well. Of course, we are recording this and doing it as a live stream. If you are tuning in after the fact. So if you are tuning in live, feel free to let us know your comments, thoughts, your visceral reactions in the comment section here on YouTube. And 100% right, Rainer. I'll wake up your comment now on screen and read it out. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. I've never felt more disappointed after a win, and that virtually sums it up for me. I don't know if you were here from the start, but as I said, this is one of the first times in a long while where I've just sat there in my seat when the siren went, and I didn't quite have my head in my hands, but I was just shaking my head. It was a common theme across the second half, but especially in the last quarter, because it wasn't a win to celebrate. Again, like if we're looking at the bigger picture, which I mean, when you're looking at it at micro levels, yes, week to week, it comes down to whether or not you get the W or the L. We got the win in this case. Yes, it's great. It looks great. The history books will say we've won. But you got to look at things long term. That's what I always do. And that's the focus and perspective I think we need to have here, because if we were playing a better side tonight, one that had a bit more polish, a bit more cleaner foot skills, we would have been beaten soundly tonight. As we saw last week against the Swans, a quality outfit. And we were only saved, again, as I said, by their lack of polish. And the big issue here that I want to identify is this lack of setup. The lack of setup, legit, like literally no defensive structure. And it's no surprise that Richmond were playing on at all costs. Sydney did it last week, of course. They would have been watching, the coaches would have been watching that game, licking their lips, seeing how easy it was to pick us apart. And because we had no defensive setup on turnover, which again, as I spoke about in the post-match review of the Sydney game, we were killed on turnover. This game last year, round 1 against Richmond, we were killed on turnover. It's happened again. So our defensive setup or lack thereof on turnover and even on rebound, which even is more astounding. You should be setting up defensively when the other team is taking a kick in. On turnover, it's a bit hard because you're kind of in the mindset of still being attacking and you still have to sort of readjust your mindset to be manning up on players. And again, we fell back into that trap of almost the directive from the higher ups. It has to be the directive kicking down the line, no switching, no corridor play. This is stuff that I have witnessed during the preseason at open training sessions. And that filled me with so much confidence. I was like, we've finally learned that we need to take risks. We need to use the corridor. And that is how we pick apart the competition. That's what made us so great in, 2023? It seems so long ago now. It really is it's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog week after week now. And it's becoming to the point where it is so frustrating that you head along to games knowing that this is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And, really, is it a surprise that we see opposition teams counter us so easily and pick us apart so easily? Doesn't matter if you're the Sydney Swans and you've got that transition play and then the speed in the outside runners like Goulden and Warner, Heaney. This is Richmond. This is a team that is still developing. Yes, they're probably a bottom 4, bottom 6 team. But again, a young team, inexperienced, and they're able to pick us apart. Like, excuse the language, but what the fuck was going on with the coaching directive as Richmond kicked consecutive goals and got the run on? The same thing happened against the Swans. And that's what, I guess, the momentum shifts in games can either be your saving grace, depending on how you respond, your saving grace, or they can absolutely flatten you. And it's happened time after time where we've been flattened and we haven't been able to adjust and respond. We just continue on our merry way, allow Richmond to, set up through the corridor unaccounted for so they can just waltz through whilst we watch almost and just cheer them on. Great work, Richmond. Great work. It's just absolute shit. And I am so over it. And the worst part, well, this win, a win is win. Yes, it's great. That's the old cliche. But this win papers over the cracks as they did in 2025 because it only reinforces a couple of issues. First and foremost, with the coaching staff and Michael Voss heading that, it reinforces this stubborn coaching ethos, approach, whatever you want to call it, to continue with the ridiculous structure or lack thereof. Like, why are we playing so far off our opponents for so long? If the opposition team gets a run on, if momentum shifts in their favor because they've kicked consecutive goals, just slow things down. Perhaps go back to a more fundamental game plan. Man up an opponent. Man up some of the guys in the midfield that were picking us apart. Guarding space. For what? What does that do? If you are winning the contest, if you are ahead on the scoreboard, if you are pummeling the opposition, you can guard space. But we do not do that well at all, but yet we persist with that. Like, it means sweet fuck all when the opposition have multiple free men out the stoppage. Handball it through congestion or kick it to a teammate free because our players aren't set up goal side. We're standing in front of them. We're like, okay, yeah, don't worry. We'll stand our goal side and not expect them to kick just over the top on an overlap. Not once did we adjust and play a close checking game. Not once. And it's this lack of plan B that really, really irks me. And I speak about it week on week now. It's a common theme. And whether or not it's the messaging not getting through, it's the players not being able to execute whatever the coaches are trying to do, or it's just the coaching. I think it might be an element of everything. But if it's not getting through, if the messaging is not getting through and it's not working, you've got to adjust. You've got to adjust. You can't just fit a square peg in a round hole. That is not how it works. And to me, it seems like a really stubborn approach by the coaching staff, headed up again by Michael Voss. And I'm almost at the point where, we all remember Brendan Bolton when he was at the helm. It was a game plan built off defense. And I'm almost at the point where I wish that we had Brendan Bolton back, because the way that we are setting up and lack of defensive setup, it is that bad. And we all know how bad, it was to sit through games coached by Brendan Bolton. But this is so one-dimensional. The kick down the line every time. And you look at the way that Richmond is set up. I might use the photo because I took a photo. I took a bit of vision as well in my seat. And I think it might have been Broad or one of the players in defense. And it was late in quarter 4. He was on the the fat side. Skinny side, of course, congested, as we always know. We kicked down the line. Then it was picked up by Richmond. They switched the play to Broad, well, I'm pretty sure it was, took the mark, had all this space in front of him, and Richmond players are streaming across to get the footy. What were we doing? Lagging behind because, hey, we're always guarding space. Don't worry about manning up players. And by that point, of course, they had the momentum. Before we get into the stats, team stats, and individual performances, of course, there are a couple of players that I just want to highlight. And we don't want to, again, be finger pointing at specific players. And I think the big issue, again, is at team selection. And I spoke about it in the preview, and it persists. We almost lose part of the game through our team selection. But first, let's go through to the comments. So, of course, if you are tuning in to us live now, feel free to let us know your thoughts. Visceral reactions in the comment section. I will flash them up on screen right now. And I might also do as well. I am conscious that it is quite late, but I will pop the StreamYard link in the comments. So if anyone wants to jump on, feel free to do so. Raina, you said, I agree. Any other team would have won tonight. And that's what happened. What we saw last week against the Swans is what happened again. And if we were playing in Brisbane, we would have lost by 60 odd points. And it would have been consecutive 12 goals, in a row. As you said, inside 50 count alone. Yep. There hasn't been a plan B for 4 years. And it's this that really I can't overlook. I cannot overlook. And there are so many, I guess you want to call them, Voss fanatics or cultists, to the level of support. I support the club thick and thin, of course. But at the end of the day, the club is bigger than any one individual, as we always know. And that applies to players and coaches alike. And if you are not up to standard, if you're not getting the results, you are part of the issue, and change needs to be made. Hence the reason why I don't try to get too attached to players. I love Charlie. Charlie Curnow was one of my favorite players. Now at the Swans, I couldn't give a shit now. It's about this emblem. It's about this emblem here that we all wear with pride. So in my eyes, it's an issue that keeps popping up, and it's hard to ignore now. And I'm sure in the back room, it is even really harder to ignore from the likes of Graham Wright and whatnot. They're taking notes. And it's a shame, because I think this season now I'm starting to see it as a wasted year. And I feared that it may have been the case. And I don't want to be so negative, because yes, we won, end of the day, and we don't want to lose sight of that. But we need to look at the bigger picture. And we were under a kick away from this being a loss. And as I said in the preview to this game, a win is not good enough. It's the style of win that we want to be looking for, and that counts for more ultimately. We're past the point of just, limping across the line and getting the 4 points. We're at the stage now where we want to be building a team that has consistency week after week and doesn't struggle to win against the likes of a Richmond or North Melbourne or a Melbourne, or, teams that should be below us, that are developing at a different stage of their development. So, as you said, Raina, there hasn't been a plan B. And I guess the plan B is always kick down the line, avoid the corridor, avoid taking risks. And I'd almost love to see, in fact, I'd love to see us take risks and try and kick through the corridor whilst we were down against the Swans. Would have loved to have seen it. But also not losing sight of the fact that you need to wrestle back momentum in games. Momentum shifts so quickly, as we know. So we still need to be of the mindset that if we need to switch and go defensive, flick that switch, do it. But I don't think there's a directive or a style that we've been coached to in order to be defensive if we need be. You know, AFL is like a game of chess, and we need to be strategic. It's not a one-dimensional game. It is much more than that. Albert hit the nail on the head there. I can't see any difference to Voss's game plan at all. I must admit, the first quarter and a bit against the Swans, it was refreshing because they were making moves, they were strategizing in a way that I've been asking for so long, and that is using the corridor and zigzagging, kicking wide, kicking back, switching the play, just making your opponent guess as to what your next move is. But ever since then, quarter three, we've reverted back to that old style. And it makes me wonder really as well. I mean, we've got Adam Simpson in the back room to provide support for Michael Voss. We've had sweeping changes across the board in the assistant coaching ranks to provide support to Voss across the various lines. And as you've rightly mentioned there, Albert, are we seeing any difference now in Voss's game plan? And I'm sure when Graham Wright sat down with Michael Voss at the end of the season, 2025, and gave him a heart-to-heart and said, look, we're going to back you in, I am sure he would have said, I want you to change the way that you are coaching this team because it's not working. We need something new. We need something fresh. And if we don't adapt, especially in game, we're going to fall behind. And we're going to lose to teams because they're going to pick us apart. They're going to work us out. And what are we seeing? And what I've said all along with Michael Voss, I know he's a nice bloke, very nice bloke, but which I sound like Donald Trump now. He's a nice bloke. But end of the day, he just seems like a very, very stubborn coach. Reminds me a bit of Nathan Buckley back in the day, who he himself admitted took him a while to, I guess, cleanse himself of that stubbornness and have some faith in his assistant coaches in not holding the reins so tight and calling the shots on everything. And it seems to me that that's virtually what Michael Voss is doing, because if these assistant coaches are coming in with fresh ideas, I'm not seeing these fresh ideas in game. I'm not seeing these fresh ideas of how to play, how to move the ball, how to structure up and set up against your opponent in any way, shape or form. Jack, how are you, mate? Hope you're well. Good to see you again. You've said, hey, Damo, feel for you, mate. I was also yelling in frustration of the bombing kicks in the second half and some basic errors. And I have no doubt, I've seen enough, as we all have, the way that we play the game. We seem to get ourselves into a bit of a mix. We almost trip over our own feet, in a sense, with the amount of basic ball skill errors, disposal errors, handballs, putting teammates under pressure. We've seen that enough. And I've seen that enough for me now to know that it is a byproduct of the way that we set up our play as well. If we are playing virtually 1/3 of the ground, virtually in terms of just kicking down one corridor, or 2/3 of the ground, if you want to count kicking down the line instead of using the corridor. If we're kicking down the line on both wings, that's not how you play footy. The ground is not restricted to 2/3. You've got to use the full range. And the MCG, geez, I can't recall any switch plays that we made, maybe in the third quarter. But even then, when we did do it, I think we surprised ourselves because the players that were being kicked to kind of were like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. And even then, when we get our hands in the footy, the ball, the player ahead of the ball, there's no movement. There's no movement. And if that's the case, what's the use in switching the play? Which again says to me that we're not set up for that. We're not being trained for that, which is really concerning. Jack, you said Tom Lynch should have kicked at least 3 in the last. He should have kicked at least, I reckon, for the game, at least 5. At least 5. Did not have his kicking boots on, which can creep into his game. But shit. And there's also another player as well that should have kicked at least 1 for us. Dead centre, by the name of Lockie Fogarty, who I will chat about in a moment when we go through stats. But we'll continue going through these comments here. Continue sending them through. Rayner, we all knew Voss needed a match coach assistant when he was hired, and it didn't happen. So I know we can point the finger at Voss and we can point the finger at maybe other coaches as well, but we've got to point the finger at the higher ups. And I spoke about it in the past. Brendan Bolton, he needed a senior assistant. Neil Craig was there for a little bit. When he vacated his post, he wasn't replaced by a genuine, coach that has experience. And there's so many inexperienced coaches across the league that have, experienced coaches behind the scenes helping out. I mean, Simon Goodwin's now at Sydney helping out Dean Cox. We have Alan Richardson, who was at Melbourne. I don't know if he's still there. Who else is there? There's Mark Williams. He's been at Richmond. He's been at Melbourne. He was at Port, obviously. There are guys there that are needed to be there. And now we've got Adam Simpson, and I'm not seeing any change in our game plan. And again, it makes me wonder, what is his level of role? Is it just to I guess, review the match vision? Is it not to be there during the game? We need someone there in the coach's box alongside Voss, giving him a tap on the shoulder or whisper in the ear, being like, mate, I think we should make a change, make an adjustment, whether it be setup wise or, head-to-head matchups, all that sort of stuff. Because what are you doing, Adam Simpson? Pete, Vossi can thank Tom Lynch for the 4 points. Yep. This is Vossi's last chance, according to my old man. He knows he's under the pump. If no difference, he's done. And Jack, I know that your old man has a bit to do. I won't disclose as to what he does. But 100%. And I'm sure that Vossi himself knows that he was extremely lucky to be kept on. I personally, again, I don't hold an attachment to any player, any coach that's affiliated with Carlton. If you don't get results, you're not fit for the job. There's no romanticism in football, as we know. And he's not getting it done. And I mean, your old man probably knows Vossi more than me, but Vossi comes across, he's a very nice bloke, seems like a very nice bloke, but in his coaching ethos, seems like a very, very stubborn coach. And it was only until the back part of 2023 when he was having a bit of pressure heaped upon him that he changed his game plan. And I was hopeful that, I guess, that the pressure that is being mounted upon him in recent seasons would have prompted him to make changes again. It doesn't seem to be the case. So I'm awfully disappointed, really, more than anything. Pete, Voss hasn't adapted since the prelim in 23. Yep. Look what McRae did with the Buckley's list. And I've spoken about it in the past. Now, for those of you who don't know, tuning in, I used to work at Collingwood back in 2015 to 2018, it would have been, in the media department as a videographer. I'm still a videographer now with my own business, but back then, under Bucks, he was coaching then, and I love Bucks. Great bloke, one of the good blokes of football that I've come across. And Craig McRae was the VFL coach when I was there, and an incredible human being. Incredible. What you see in terms of his nicety, his friendliness, his warmth, all genuine. Hands down the nicest bloke I've met in footy. And it's no surprise that the Pies players and the culture that they have there is so positive, and it's due to him. I remember my first day there working at Collingwood. I went out there at training and with my camera, and I shitted myself because first day on the job working in the AFL at a big football club, being a football nuffy as I was pretty nervous. And Craig McRae was on the other side of the field, spotted me, didn't recognize me, made his way across to me of his own volition and introduced himself and put me at ease and said, great to have you at the club. Nice to see you. Asked me a couple of questions. And, it's that sort of person that you'd love to have at a club. But beyond that, as a person, I think strategically, tactically, what he provides, Collingwood, is incredible. And you've hit the nail on the head there, Rainer, because what he was able to achieve in getting a flag out of Buckley's list, incredible. And I'm sure it would be the likes of Hayden Skipworth, who's a known can't even say the word, statistician. I can't say, but you know what I mean. Strategically, he's a very good assistant coach. So there are guys alongside him that really play a part as well, and a big part of that. Jack, there must be a stat of how many times the Blues start hot and kick 4 or 5 goals in the first term, then go completely missing. And when that happened tonight, Went to the footy with my wife and father-in-law, as we always do, as a collective Bag and Nuffy family. And when that happened, we even on the drive in, we were saying like we'd much prefer to be, almost behind the eight ball and maybe trailing by a goal or two at quarter time or half time. And when we got the run on early and we're kicking consecutive goals, it was like we just know what's going to happen. We just knew it. It's like the theory of the universe being a simulation, and like, is the simulation broken? Because we're just repeating. It's Groundhog Day, week after week. Pete, Fogarty, how the hell does he even get a game? Now, there's a few comments and questions here. We might just quickly fly through these and we'll go through the stats, because Fogarty is a player that I want to be talking about. So we'll just park that for now. Took Fogarty 6 quarters of footy to get a tackle. Now we'll just hold on to those comments there, Pete. We'll refer back to those. Jack Cripps missed 2 absolute sitters, but he had a good game. However, Jagger is just beautiful to watch. Jagger is like a cult. Watching him, the way he moves, he plays with a level of experience of someone that's been playing senior footy for, seasons on end. So refreshing to see. He can see the play unfolding before it happens. That sort of footy IQ, just incredible. I've glazed en masse about Jagger if you've tuned into my content across the preseason. G'day, mate. How are you? I hope you're well. I think this is Jack. How are you, mate? The other Jack. Jack, do you think Dirksen gets a game? I think he probably should get a game. I thought he was pretty stiff not to play in round 0, opening round, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But yeah, I think he probably showed a little bit more than what McGovern did and Young did across the game against the Lions and the Cats. So I thought he was incredibly stiff. But with Haynes reportedly getting through the VFL practice game, I think he probably comes in. So might be push for spots. That's the only thing going against Dirksen. But by all reports, Dirksen played well today, which is good to hear. But Lewis Young, I mean, he's a whipping boy of a lot of the supporter base, which is unfortunate. Again, he's one of the nicest blokes, and he's purely a confidence player. But I said it in opening round in the preview to the Swans game. I want to see him played forward. He offers more to us forward as he does compared to when he's back in defence, because being a confidence player, when he makes a mistake, he kind of, I think, compounds it in his own mind, and then they kind of just snowball from there. And I just think he's not fit to be that, second defender, which is kind of thrown into that role at various stages. It's just, it doesn't quite work. So I'd love to see him play up forward. Jack, you said it's spot on. He's a lovely bloke with a lovely family. I think you're talking about Vossi here. But even my old man says his coaching style is way too stubborn and is concerning nothing's changed. And I'm no longer on the inside at Carlton. I used to be privy to when I was at Carlton. So for those people, again, context, I worked at Collingwood, then I went to Carlton, headed up their video team within the media department there. And Brendan Bolton was the coach then. And Brendan Bolton was a very quirky, unique character. Not so much a people person like McRae is and what probably Voss is. But I think strategically, Brendan Bolton was very switched on. And what he was trying to implement from the coaching style standpoint was good, I think, from a long-term viewpoint, but it was kind of like staggered out and very, very stretched out. Whereas I think with Voss, just what he's trying to, again, fit a square peg into a round hole, and it's not working. And you can see it. You can see it from the outside looking in, that the fact that there's no evolution in what he's trying to adapt says to me that you are stubborn. Either you're stubborn and you have your hands on the reins too tightly for your assistant coaches not being able to pitch in their ideas, or, it's either or it's both. So, Jack, you said it's all about culture. Look at what happened to the Lions. The culture is the biggest part of our success, and Fagan is a huge part of that. Yep, spot on. I hope Carlton can have that in years to come. And yeah, culture is a big thing. And I think that has been a bit of a change in the offseason, as we know, with players reportedly departing the club that maybe didn't align with the culture, because you don't want disruptors in the club, because that just does not work. Part of the reason why, look at Collingwood, for example, with Jaden Stevenson being shown the door. Virtually, he was at the club when I was there, and one of the nicest blokes. I was there on draft night when he was drafted, and I don't want to, talk ill against anyone, but he kind of, I think, when he was drafted and then, taken into the AFL system, I reckon it's a big tester of a kid's maturity. And there are players like Walshy and maybe Jagger who adapt. Ollie is probably another one as well. Ollie Hollands, guys that are mature, have their head switched on or screwed on and really switched on, that they can really adapt. Whereas other players, I think, that maybe don't have quite the maturity yet, because everyone matures at a different age, different levels. Stevenson, yeah, he kind of lost sight of the fact of he needs to perform, and I think those outside distractions kind of went against him. And you don't want those players really disrupting the team ethos and culture. And Ginnivan's probably another one. That's part of the reason why he was shown the door from Collingwood, and you understand why, despite his talents. Rayner, it felt like the exact same game from last year. It did. It is you indeed, Jack. Rayner, Young has no confidence to mark at the moment. I mean, give him kudos, though. I think he took that game-saving mark at the end, did he not? So, yeah, it was good to see that he at least had that to him. But I think he even surprised himself, didn't he, when the ball fell into his hands. I feel sorry for Young, says Jack of Mercedes-Benz Man. I mean, he does not pick himself, and it's true. And the role that he plays as well, again, I think he should be playing forward. Take the head off the bloke. And Kemp's a confident player as well, and he was thrown forward, and I think he offers a bit more to us forward as well. Less pressure compared to, if you make a mistake when you're in defence and you're conceding goals, compared to if you're making a mistake up forward, you maybe miss a goal opportunity. You know what I mean? So Pete Young is the club's most accurate set shot for goal. That's a very good stat. And after this, we'll go into the stats breakdown in a moment and chat about some individual performances. Rayner, Young's first year, he was marking everything coming. He was. And I think, again, that plays into his confidence. And he looked like a great pickup, didn't he, his first year for us? And he's just kind of fallen away from there and fallen back in the depth chart and pecking order and whatnot. So has worked against him. But with that, ladies and gents, let's go through the stats, the all-important stats, and really pick out and identify some issues that we've had as a collective, but also individual performances as well, and ones that fell short that may indicate some changes that need to be made heading into the game against the D's. Of course, we are heading to a bye, thank the Lord, which is what we need. Thank the Cooper Lord. But yeah, so the scoreline in the end, it was Carlton 10-15, 75 to Richmond 9-17, 71. Ended up victorious by just the 4 points, and geez, did it not feel like that. It's going to be interesting analysis here. So let's go through first and foremost the timeline. Now, I did chat about the last year's game in round one in the preview episode of the video that I did previously. And you can see here, like 19 points at quarter time. Half time, it was, 27 points. And then that's when it started to whittle away. 3/4 time, 13 points, and then 4 points. So we really lost our way again. It was kind of very steady. You can see there across the first 2 quarters. And then, geez, again, halfway through the third quarter, bang. We held on. We were clawing on. And that was Richmond missing crucial goals. So let's just have a quick look. We'll scroll back to that point. And halfway through the third quarter, you can see here, goal to Sam Lawler, behind to Sam Lawler again, goal to Mansell, behind Richmond, behind Seth Campbell. So they had, 6 scoring shots in a row. And then Elijah kicks it behind, snap. Lynch gets a behind, another one of many. Cripper, I think it was his set shot. Then he missed. Lynch, another behind. And it was virtually just Richmond scoring opportunity after opportunity. Jaden Short goal. We had a rush behind. Lynch kicked 3 behinds in a row in the fourth quarter. Craziness. Campbell Chesser kicked it behind. Zachy Williams kicked that goal to save us in the end, as it turned out. Jonty Full, dickhead. Again, just with Jonty Full, he has and he will get suspended for that hit on Wiedering. And I made a tweet, bit of a gag tweet. I said that Jonty is, you got to cut him some slack, because Jonty is angry at the world for the fact that his parents called him Jonty. So he, in this case, is the real victim here. What the fuck is a Jonty, dickhead? Anyway, Tom Lynch kicked that goal, and he would have been like, finally, I got one after kicking, 6 behinds or whatever. And yeah, got him within the 4 points, and the siren went, thankfully. But geez, it was very shaky. Very, very shaky. Let's go through some team stats, and quickly we'll refer back to the comments just ever so quickly. Jack Blucci, you've said, how do you think you'll go against the Demons round 3? Mate, we'll get to that in our preview, but I reckon much of the same as what we saw tonight, I reckon, if things don't change, and probably a loss, I reckon. So let's go through a breakdown in team stats and just compare the pair, as it were. So disposals-wise, we ended up having 12 more disposals, very even across the night, by and large. We had more handballs, which was no surprise because we were just handballing more so out of pressure, I think, that Richmond were putting upon us late in the game, especially. And they were errant handballs a lot of the time. We weren't handballing to players in space, or if we were handballing to a play that we thought was in space, they were being guarded by a Richmond player in the corridor. We weren't able to run inwards. They were pushing us again up against the wing and forcing us to kick down the line. And we're kind of a product of our own issues that we've had, where, you know, we've played to this style, and opposition teams want us to play this style because it's easy to counter, and the extra handballs just really put us under more pressure. Inside 50s, Richmond actually had 16 more inside 50s, and that's a telling stat, a really telling stat. We weren't able to put the pressure on them in the midfield and allowed them to have opportunities. It was just lucky that they only had, 28 scoring shots from their 60 inside 50s. We had 44 inside 50s for 25 scoring shots. So we had over a 50% conversion of the number of opportunities that we had converted to scoring shots. Disposal efficiency, no surprise here. We had the lower of the two, 72.2% compared to Richmond's 74.1%. Efficiency inside 50, surprisingly, 59.1% compared to Richmond, 43.3%. And that's virtually, end of the day, is what killed them. I know they had the wayward kicking in front of goal, but their efficiency in being able to hit up targets, they were their own worst enemy, Richmond. Free kicks, 21-18. And I must say, I don't like to harp on about free kicks, so I won't, but I will just mention the umpiring tonight was pretty shitful for both sides. There was that early free kick paid to Richmond, and I think it was Steely Green. That nothing hip and shoulder, I think it might have been from Florent. It was virtually a glancing hip and shoulder, and he went down like he'd been shot. Umpires, you've got to be better than that. You've got to be better than that. That is staging. And, you know, they spoke about that recently, where they said they were going to clamp down on that, and they haven't. And it's just shit. But another thing as well, guys marking the footy. And there was a case there where Richmond even took a mark. Who was it? It was one of their defenders, may have been Broad, and took a mark, held it for at least a minute. Sorry, not a minute. It felt like a minute, but held it for a good, second or two. And it was punched out of his hands, and the umpire didn't pay a mark. And it happened to us where we actually did the same thing, wasn't paid a mark. And the opposite happened where a player had grabbed the ball for a millisecond and it was paid a mark. Just shitful umpiring. Be better. Stoppages. Surprisingly, we actually won the hitouts. I wasn't looking at the stats in-game, but Pito, he's having a career year, I reckon. Scoring shots, everything else, really dominant against Nankervis. Looked really good. And, I mean, this is probably the one good pat on the back that I'll say to the coaching staff and match committee, that we didn't need two rucks in this case here. I mean, Hudson O'Keefe was probably coming in as a bit of a pinch hit if need be, just to relieve Pito, so he wasn't on field playing as the number one ruck for 100% of the time, like, say, Maxi Gawn does. But by and large, he did a really good job. Clearances, 37-29, which is interesting. Like, we're winning clearances, yet we've only won by 4 points. Just not doing enough with the footy. And contested possessions, we had 11 more than Richmond, 138-127. Uncontested possessions, 7 more than Richmond. Turnovers, Richmond had 1 more turnover than us. Marks, pretty telling. I wonder how many of those were uncontested. So 75 to Richmond's 97. So they had 22 more marks. Sorry, you can tell that I'm recording this at 1:40 a.m. Marks inside 50, Richmond had 15 to our 7. We had 7 marks inside 50 for the entire game. Shithouse. Again, entries inside 50, terrible. There we go, contested marks. They were 10 apiece. So it means that the differential there, they had 22 more uncontested marks. That's virtually what it means. Wow. 22 more uncontested marks. And like I said against the Swans, that there is an insight into playing unaccountable footy, not applying enough defensive pressure, which is a big issue. Again, glaring. Defense-wise, tackles. Yeah, we had more tackles this time around, 53 compared to the Tigers, 49. Tackles inside 50. The Tigs had 12. We had 7. And 1% is 48 to Richmond's 47. So, yeah, we won the differential there. Yay. Let us go through player stats. And as we do so, we'll go back to the comment section. Rayner, geez, I didn't know his name was it's Jonty, Jonty. Just Jonty. What the fuck's a Jonty? A couple of staging fines must be enforced by the AFL. Yep, which they don't do. And it annoys me. I don't know why they say things and then they don't enforce it. And they leave it to the umpires to call things out. Just shit house. Stats show a different game. They do. They do by and large. It shows that we probably should have won by more. But again, those little stats, those categories like the mark side of things, uncontested marks, that provides a bit more of a closer, more accurate snapshot of what occurred. Because a winning side, you don't let your opposition have that many uncontested marks unless they're misusing it and they're just switching the play and not really gaining any ground. So let's go through, of course, the stat side of things. Now, I have sorted my stats here. This is what's come up. I've sorted it in terms of inside 50s, contested possessions, uncontested possessions, disposal efficiency, meters gained, tackles, goals, behinds, pressure acts, spoils, all those sort of things. So that are kind of, those are the columns there that you can see if you're watching us on YouTube. Let's go through. So first and foremost, Jagger Smith, among our best yet again. His disposal efficiency wasn't the best tonight, 68.8%, but still good. Still good enough. I mean, he made a couple of glaring errors, but I mean, he was throwing his head over the footy. He was actually pretty good at the contest. I mean, he's 1 wood, and what we want him to do is play that outside game. But there were so many times there where he actually just threw his body in, head over the footy, and it was almost like he was like, you know what, fuck this. Like my teammates aren't putting their head over the footy. We're not winning the contested ball at stages. We're being outplayed in the midfield. So I'm just going to do it myself, and I love to see that. So Jagger, best for us, best. Alongside Walshy, I think Walshy was really good again. 30 disposals, 80% disposal efficiency. So by foot, elite. Uncontested footy had 20 disposals, uncontested, 9 contested. I don't really mind. I think his outside game, much like Jagger, both of these guys, that's their 1 wood, and that is their strength. Pressure acts, 21, great to see. 5 tackles, 4 marks. This guy here, Paddy Cripps. Now, I know the stat sheet shows that he had 32 disposals. He had 19 contested possessions, 17 pressure acts. But I don't think I've seen 2 back-to-back terrible games from Cripper in a long, long while. He was putrid. And I know the stats show that he had 32 disposals. I don't care. As you can see there, 59.4% was his disposal efficiency. Was not good by hand or foot. He looked so slow. He looked like he was just someone coming back from footy that have retired. It reminded me a bit, not quite to the extent of Plugger when he made his comeback for the Swans and was on the exercise bike on the bench to try and keep up his fitness and get his, so he wasn't cramping, get some blood moving through the legs. He was so off his game tonight, Cripper. Terrible. In front of goal, didn't convert, kicked 3 behinds. And that's a big deficiency in his game, not being able to convert and kick goals. He looks way off. He looks way off the pace, Cripper. I don't know what it is. If it's psychological, I don't know. Last week against the Swans, he lost his cool, which is very unlike him. Let the pressure get to him. But tonight he was slow. He was not in the right positions. He was not making the best decisions with the footy in hand. Even when the footy wasn't in his hand, he wasn't running to the right positions. He wasn't supporting his teammates. Really, really, it was a game tonight where for the first time, I think, ever, I thought to myself, it probably would be a good thing if Cripper was on the bench because he's not contributing and he's actually causing more issues than not, which is unlike Cripper, as we know. So disappointing. Ollie Florent made a couple of errors, but by and large actually did okay. Meters gained, 606 meters gained, the most for us. So really got the ball moving off halfback. And he's done that over the past couple of weeks. So he's really fit in nicely, I think, on the halfback line there. Walshy as well, 480 meters gained. Got to call him out because that was the second most for us as well. Really moving the footy and giving us territory by and large. Georgie Boy Hewitt, again, another off game, I think, from him. Used the ball by foot and hand really good, 87%, but 149 meters gained. We've seen better from him. I've seen better. I wouldn't mind to see him playing more accountable football and maybe shutting down opponents. I know he's done it in the past. We should have used him to that effect by and large for the majority of the game last week against the Swans on Goulden or a Warner or a Heaney. Cooper Lord, off game in terms of his disposal, but 20 disposals, 375 meters gained, which was up there in the top 5. And I thought early he did some nice things. As the game went on, he probably fell into that category of, I guess, getting caught up and not knowing who to pass to, and looked a little bit lost. But, off the back of last week, and, I don't think he was our worst at all. Matty Carroll, I thought he was what he was able to provide for us, especially late in the piece. He plays with so much confidence, and that's what I love about Carroll. He's able to provide that run and carry. And when he was lined up in the wing, I thought he actually looked really good. He's been training in the wing position, and I think he's someone that really could carve out a spot there. Zachy Boy Williams kicked that goal to seal the game for us. He went off. I think he was tripped by Maurice Rioli and went off limping. I thought, here we go. He's injured, knowing Willow's durability, but he continued on. And really, 94.1%, I think that was the best. Yeah, it was best for us in terms of disposal efficiency. Will Haywood kicked a nice goal, a snap goal around the body. Was kind of weaving through, did like a little pirouette, and I thought, geez, he's going to be dizzy off the back of that. But no, with experience, he knows where the ball is. He knows where the goals are, I should say, sorry. And was able to kick that goal. Mitch McGovern, I thought he actually played okay. Again, another player that, we've got so many of these defenders that when they're pushed forward, they can actually play a role. And I thought he did that. Took some really nice marks, I thought, and has, I guess, earned his spot for next week. Campbell Chesser, a little bit wanting there. 46.7% disposal efficiency, which was the worst of our players. I just don't know. I mean, with Carroll back in the team, putting pressure on him for that wing role, we might see him maybe other team for the game against the D's. Ollie Hollands. It's fitting that both the Hollands boys are right next to each other. They both had 14 disposals, but Ollie again by foot, he let himself down. Caught under pressure multiple times. He just seems to lack awareness and being able to be cool and calm and collected in pressure situations, and just reverts into being that deer in headlights type player. Just for someone so skilled, he can disappoint so often. And he's one of those whipping boys again. I'm a fan of Ollie. I'm a fan of him because he can really, when he plays a good game, he looks really good. But when he struggles, he stands out in not a good way. His brother, Elijah, he's usually a half-decent kick as well, Elijah, and can really, what I love about Elijah is he has confidence in his game, much like Carroll that I spoke about, and likes to bite off those 45-degree kicks, which I like because it goes against the grain and he's trying something. And probably against the directive of Michael Voss, because he's trying to use the corridor, but he made a couple of mistakes during this game. His first couple of games haven't been good, must be said. But he's got the talent, as we know. He's got the talent. Lockie Cowan returns to the lineup, and a couple of times I think he was caught out on his opponent. Didn't play enough close checking to his opponent, was outmarked. But, I mean, first game back. So, I'm a fan of Lockie Cowan. So, he'll stick around. And Pitto. This is, again, back-to-back good games by Pitto. I thought he was going to be on the tear halfway through the match again and kicking a bag of goals. Kicked 1 goal, 1. 25 hitouts, 11 hitouts to advantage as well, which was great conversion. That's rated actually pretty good. And disposal-wise, 69.2%, 13 disposals. Wiped the floor with Nank. So he's in really good form. Really, really, really good form. Harry kicked 2 goals too. And again, this is a coaching, point that I want to make. And I've spoken about it preview episodes. I spoke about it last year when we had Charlie. I want to see Harry playing more of a stay-at-home forward role. We've got to stop pushing him up the ground so far because he's our main focal point. We can't afford to be having him past the midway point of the oval of the field. We can't have him in the defensive half and then expect him to run back and be our key forward. If anything, use Kemp in that role. Push Kemp up the field. He's a great mark. Probably not as good as Harry, but he's a good enough mark in his own right and a great endurance athlete. Play Harry within the 50-meter arc. I want to see that. Lewis Young, as I spoke about, it wasn't a good game for him. But mind you, he took the winning mark, or the game-saving mark, if you want to call it that. He's just, much like last week, he just, I think, does not have the positioning to be relied upon as a key defender. And I want to see him played forward. I would like to see that. Without Ashton Moyer there, Hudson O'Keefe didn't really play a role, and I think it was kind of a waste to come in. Got some hitouts, but outside of that, didn't do much. But Brody Kemp kicked 1 goal, 1. I'd like to see, again, him playing that high-up role. Weeders, I don't know why he wasn't played on Tom Lynch for a majority of the match. Again, coaching directive, what the fuck are we doing? When Lynch is out marking our defenders, make the move, pull the lever. And that's talking to that one-dimensional coaching. Ben Ainsworth didn't impact the scoreboard at all. Did a couple of nice things, but I think defensively he was caught out as well when he was expected to push up the ground. And that's the other thing as well, is this press that Voss wants to persist with by having our forwards push up into the defensive half to try and force turnover. It does not work. It does not work, because then we're expecting our forwards to then just stream forward at the speed of light to provide us with an attacking option forward of the ball. It doesn't work. And when we do get the turnover, who do we have forward of the ball in our forward half even to kick to? No one. We've got to stop that press. The only way it stops is with a different coach. Hudson O'Keefe, spoke about him. 7 disposals, 10 hitouts. He's not a forward. I don't think he's much of a forward, really. Took a set shot, didn't convert, but that was his only really scoring opportunity. Harry Dean, got to cut this bloke some slack, but I mean, he held his own physically. I was really impressed with, he was trying to be pushed around, and I don't know what they were trying to do. They were trying to target him, but Harry was not fucking having a bar of it, and I loved it. Loved it. I love a bit of grit. There's a word for it. Starts with C, but I won't say it on stream in case there are some kids listening. I won't go that far. I've sworn before, but I won't say that word. But he's got that in him. He's got that in him, and I love it. And to round things out, we have this bloke here, Lockie Fogarty. And if you are tuning in and you tuned in to my preview, you would have heard me say, looking at the team sheets when they were released, how the fuck did Lockie Fogarty keep his spot? Even dating back to the preview, when the team sheets were released for the opening round game, how did Lockie Fogarty get a spot when Frankie Evans isn't here? This bloke is the new Frankie Evans. He's not performing. He's not kicking goals. He's not providing forward pressure. And yet he's getting gifted games. Based upon what? The fact that we don't have Frankie Evans in the team. And Frankie Evans, to his credit, he came on with it late in the season, as we know, and started to develop that attacking craft in his game. And boy, I'm crying out for a Frankie Evans right now. Because Lockie Fogarty, I have no idea how he's getting games. No idea. I mean, last week, you could probably forgive, didn't have the best form line across the preseason, but was gifted a game based upon need in terms of fulfilling a role, not so much getting a game based upon or warranted on form. But how did he keep his spot? Because his form against the Swans was non-existent. You're coming in as a pressure forward, and he laid 0 tackles last week. This week, well, hey, he laid 3 tackles. That's good. That's good. 11 pressure acts. 1 behind. But what was that behind? Well, if you didn't watch the match, it was a crucial shot. Dead in front. And you could tell the way that he was approaching the set shot. It was almost like a bit of a Fred Flintstone type, setup and, jittering, and didn't almost know how to walk in and kick the goal. Was he going to kick on his left foot or his right? It looked like that. And gee whiz, the shot came off looking like that because he missed it. And it was a crucial part of the game. And that's when we talk about momentum and players that can really capitalize on momentum and momentum shifts. That was inexcusable. Of someone of his, I think he's played, 94 odd games or something. Someone of his experience, inexcusable. And when you're being gifted a spot, and I will say gifted because, again, he's not showing any form to warrant his selection. When you're being gifted a spot, you need to convert those opportunities. So, again, mark my words, bookmark it. If he, in the preview to the Melbourne game, gets a spot in the senior team, I'm going to fucking lose it. I will lose it. Much like I lost it last year when Cooper Lord was being named the sub week after week after week, despite showing good signs when he was played, with greater game time. So, again, we're losing things at the selection table. We're losing things. We might as well have just played with one less player. That's what it felt like. And I don't like to be scathing of players, but it seems to be a common trend here. Modders has kind of fallen into this trend as well, not impacting the scoreboard back in 2025, but yet was given games. Lockie Fogarty is the same, exactly the same. And it's just not good enough. And that's on the coaches. Lockie Fogarty can only do so much based upon the form that he is in. But what does that set? What standard does that set the team if guys are getting gifted games not based on form? And we have guys like Taylor Byrne, a youngster, I know, inexperienced, I know, does not have quite the match conditioning, I know. Give him a crack. I can understand not giving him a crack first up in opening round. I was kind of expecting that anyway. But still, I was kind of a bit surprised because, again, Fogarty compared to Taylor Byrne showed more form compared to Fogarty. And Taylor Byrne overlooked for this game off the back of Fogarty's no form. And what does he deliver? Well, delivered nothing really. Fuck me. Let's go through the comments. Rainer, yes, Jagger is our best player, and that says a lot, doesn't it? Jack of Mercedes-Benz Man, you said he looks cooked. That's Cripper. Rainer Cripps has never been a great kick, but now his handballs are off. And when that starts to occur, that says to me that his form is obviously down, but mindset-wise, is he just tired? Is he like, I'm sure all of us have heard what Doherty said on Dan Gorringe's podcast. They're both close mates, Cripper and Doc. And I'm sure Cripper has the same sort of viewpoint and frustrations that Doc has, and it's to do with coaching. Is he at the point that I am at the moment where I'm just beyond frustrated? And, in his case, it's showing in his form and in the way that he goes about things on game day. Cowan looked 1 week off. Yeah, we probably could have given him another week in the VFL. That's probably a fair point. Mercedes, Chestnut needs a few games in the twos. Butchers the ball all the time. Was such a good user of the footy as well when he started to get that run on at West Coast. Chesser, must say. Rayner, Weeders might still be sore and is a heavy body. He might be. I mean, Jonty Fall, the dickhead, was getting into him, and I think he hit him in like the sore spot as well because he went down because Weeders is such a big bloke. Mercedes, Benzman, you've said, I think he's still playing with sore ribs. Yep, like I just mentioned there. Fogarty should have been dropped. Thank you, Rayner. Jack, you've said, Damo, that is the trend of the coaches, that they reward garbage form. And it doesn't bode well for the chemistry of the team either, does it? It just does not bode well. Because what are you rewarding end of the day? You're not rewarding good form, and it doesn't have you're not harboring a winning culture off the back of that. It says that, okay, you can just do shit and not perform in the VFL, and we'll give you a shot because we've got a lack of depth, or a lack of confidence in young players. Which, again, speaking to Cooper Lord, that's virtually what excuse me, what Voss had for Cooper Lord last year, because he played him week after week as a sub when he wasn't being made the scapegoat and being dropped. And then finally, when he was given an opportunity, which I'd been calling out for all season, well, hey, Cooper Lord looked pretty good, didn't he? And then he gets rewarded with a 3-year deal after a great start to 2026. And it says to me a bit of a trend now that Voss does not have confidence in these young guys. But if you're showing good form, you've got to reward that. You've got to reward that. Jackie said Byrne did okay yesterday in the twos. Might need to give him a run. Again, if Fogarty stays in the team, I'm going to fucking lose it, really. But surely, I mean, we're going into a bye. Frankie Evans, I think, should be available. I think he was slated as being available post-bye if he wasn't available for this game, which obviously he wasn't. So I expect to see him come back. But I'd love to see us play and, Taylor Byrne off the bench. He doesn't need to necessarily play 100% of game time. We've seen with other teams now how they use that fifth spot on the bench. They almost use it as a bit of a quasi, sub position because, Collingwood, for example, they played Pendles and Jordan Ngoe as that sort of impact player. I think they both played around about 60, 65% game time. And they both had massive impact, major impact in the game. Kicking goals, goal assists. So you don't, and like Sydney as well, Papley, bit underdone. They played him in for 3 quarters. He was on the bench for the first quarter. It's a smart play. And I reckon we could play these young guys who maybe don't have quite the match conditioning as yet, play them as impact players off the bench. That's what we did against the Lions. Yes, it was a preseason game, but he looked good. And we did it again in the against the Cats in the preseason game, playing the last half. So there's no reason for us not to play someone of Taylor Byrne's quality and ability with his, great tackling, great field kicking, and, incredible goal nous. Give him a crack. Give him a crack. Jack, you said, I thought Walshy might get a few more points tonight with those CBA numbers. Little underwhelming score because I thought he was better than A90. Oh, yes, in terms of Supercoach, yep. Totally agree. Totally agree. I think it was a very strange score. Just speaking to that, of course, I'm going into my territory of Supercoach, my other channel, Supercoach Edge, but just want to quickly point that out because you're totally correct. Disposal efficiency, 80%, 30 disposals, 480 meters gained, 4 marks, 5 tackles, 21 pressure acts. Very strange. Only thing I can think of was it's based upon the fact that he only had 9 contested possessions, which may have scaled his points down. But his impact that he had early in the game when the side was winning should have meant that his scaling points should have went up. So very strange game. Totally agree, mate. But yeah, Let us know. Let us know. I mean, if you are tuning in after the fact here on YouTube, let us know in the comment section as well as to your thoughts on the game overall. Where do things fall down? Particular players, coaching, lack of structure, lack of defensive accountability. Again, all those things. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, and what changes you would make heading into the round 3 game against Melbourne. Who makes way? Who comes back into the team? Does Dirksen get a go? Does Haynes come back to the team? I think he probably does. He's one of our better defenders. Who goes out? Hudson O'Keefe go back out again? I think potentially. Maybe Liam Reid. I don't know how Liam Reid, if he played in the practice game, the VFL, but does he come in now? I get the feeling that Liam Reid probably will be on the revolving door spot virtually, going in and out of the team, just to sort of help Pito combat big ruckmen that are more mobile. And Max Gawn is obviously one of those. But outside of that, Jack, Mercedes-Benz band, you've said, are you having people come on the panel? We might wrap things up. I mean, if you want to jump on for a quick chat, I can do that. But I am conscious that we've been going for an hour, and I don't want to go for too long. And as you can probably tell, because I'm getting tongue-tied, I'm incredibly tired. So there's the StreamYard link that I've whacked up in the comment section there if you want to jump on for a quick chat. But we'd have to time it for about 5-10 minutes because, yeah, I am absolutely cooked. Jack Blueshy said, the fact Wiedering didn't go onto Lynch in the second half when he looked most dangerous baffled me. Again, it's these moves and lack thereof from Voss that just compounds things for me. And it's almost like he sets and forgets. In the old, super coach term that we say there, set and forget. He virtually doesn't want to make any changes in the game. He's like, yep, we'll just keep things the way they are from the first throw up. Of course, we don't bounce the ball anymore. And I'll just kick back. You might as well just like vacate the coach's box, go and have a donut from the stand downstairs, have a coffee, kick your feet up on the table and don't do anything. Because that's virtually what it feels like. It's almost like it reminds me of guys you may have worked with or potentially still work with that get away in their job with, doing the bare minimum in their job. And it fucking annoys you because if you're a hard worker, and we've all had them in the past, and guys that they don't work quite as hard as what you do, they probably don't care as much, but they just fuck around. They get into work, they fuck around, they earn their pay packet and go home, and they come back and do it again. And it seems like that. Like Vossi just comes in, it's like, yep, we've done all the homework, we've trained the boys, we'll adopt the same strategy and setup that we have every single game, and we don't care. We won't change anything. I'll leave it to you, assistant coaches. I'm just going to head down for a bit of a bite to eat, get a souvlaki, a bit like Dangerfield on the bench last year for the Cats. Have a suva. Rainer, I want to see the match day coach next game. I want to see the match day coach next game. I'm curious. And I'd love to sit in there. I was very lucky when I was working at Collingwood to sit in on the coaches in the coaching. Well, technically we were in the box right next to the coach's box. And it was Brodie Grundy and I think it was Josh Dacos. I think they were both injured this game. And it was the game against Port Adelaide. I couldn't tell you what year. At a guess, it probably would have been around about 2016 or 2017. It was at Adelaide Oval. And Pendles was actually, he was injured then. I think he might have broken his leg, fractured his leg or hand or something. But anyway, I'd mic'd up Pendles because he was kind of stepping into a quasi coaching type role. And we were sitting right next door to the coach's box and seeing the dynamic between the likes of Robert Harvey, Nathan Buckley, who else was in there? Brenton Sanderson, and I can't recall who the other coach was, but seeing the way they work was really intriguing. And as a footy nuffy, I was just sitting back like listening because the door was slightly ajar. It was like the sliding glass door, and you could hear what was going on. And Bucks would go off his nut, and then Sando would go off his nut and they would kind of be butting heads. They would be pointing out guys that weren't in certain positions and all that sort of stuff. And it was really, really interesting to see. And Robert Harvey was there being like the cool, calm, collected head, being like, guys, can we just get our heads in the game? Incredible. We'll patch you in a second, Mercedes-Benz man, of course, Jack. Jack Blue Chief said, curious to see who Young goes to against the Demons. Will they change the way they defend? And if Fogarty gets a game, I'm fucking done. 100%, Jack. And you're a Brisbane man, and you're saying that, and I love that. I love that passion. You've almost adopted the Baggers, haven't you? So I really like that passion. But I'm 100% the same. If that happens again, I am done. I'm 100% done with Michael Voss. And I'm sorry, nothing against the bloke, but as a coach and a stubborn coach at that, I will not forgive him. And it says to me that you're not learning from mistakes, which we're not doing at the moment. Let us patch through, Jack. And Jack, we might, at the moment, it is 2 a.m. And I know we still have 15 people tuning in, and all credit to all of you out there, but I have to get up for work. Even though I do work for myself as a videographer, I've got my own business, I do have to head down to Cricket Victoria to give them some footage that I filmed for them the other week. So I cannot be sleeping in, that is for sure. So let's patch in, Jack, and we might cap you at, say, 2:20. So you got 10 minutes, mate. We might just have a bit of a yarn, and then we might blow the siren and wrap things up. But of course, those of you in the chat, feel free to continue sending through comments, questions, all those opinions. We love to hear. So, Jack, we'll remove this little screen here, and we will patch you through. How are you, mate? How's it going?
G'day, Damo. Long time, huh?
It's been a while.
It's been
Well, if there is any feedback, because I don't have my headphones on, and if there is any feedback, let me know if it's looping through, but I don't think it is.
I've turned my stereo off, so you're safe.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's been about 2-3 years, I think, the last time I was up here.
It has. It's been a little while, mate. It's been a little while. The channel's grown a fair bit since then. I think you're one of the first people to have on.
Yeah, I was there in the early days, and it's good to see you're monetized too. I might have to send you some super chats, mate.
Oh, thanks, mate. No, I appreciate it. I like the support. I really appreciate you jumping on. And there's a few people as well that do likewise as well. All the regulars now that kind of jump on and get to see the usernames and stuff. And I just want to use the channel as a platform, like other content creators out there, to jump on and give your thoughts and everything else. So good to have you on.
Quite a few of them now. I tell you, I was I think it was last night or the night before. I was flicking around. There was a few. There's more and more people doing Carlton live streams now. It's amazing.
It's crazy. Exactly right. Yeah. It's good to see. Good to see. Everyone's. I think using it as an outlet to be a bit visceral and just just put our thoughts out there, so we just don't implode.
Correct. I mean, you got to do it somehow. But look, on the team, I'm not really angry or upset, or even last week, because we've been here before. We know what it's about. So you kind of get used to it. There you go. There's a super chat from Rainer.
Oh, there we go, Rainer.
On you, Rainer.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. I think that's the first super sticker that we've had. I've had a couple, lucky enough, on my Super Coach Edge channel, which we've got about 2.6 thousand subscribers on there. So we're pretty lucky with that. But this is the first. So, Rainer, I think you are the first. I'll have to go back and have a look. But thank you, mate. Really appreciate it.
Good stuff. Yeah, but on the team, I mean, look, we can sit here all day, all night, or whatever, and dissect what's going on. But when I saw last week in the presser, or I watched this presser tonight too as well, and what was it? Out with the old, in with the new cliche he's got going. Well, mate, it's still the same shit. You can't tell me this is new. It's the same shit. I mean, and then when Doherty came out with that, he knows he's inside the club. He knows what's going on. And it's coming from the horse's mouth. So I don't think Voss is going to last. To be honest, the reason why I say it is they haven't renewed his contract. They can probably wait another 6-7 weeks or whatever. But judging just by tonight, we played kids yet again, just like last year. We played kids, and they just They just ran all over us in the second half. I mean, you know, if you think about it, it's actually embarrassing kicking one goal for a half. I mean, look, I can pick out players for you if you want, and the number one player I'm going to pick out is that soft cock Harry Mackay. I mean, come on, man. He can't get us. He can't look. You know, soft as butter, mate. He's melted. I mean, come on. He's just big for nothing. You know, we can say, "Oh, Lynch, cost them the game and all that." All right, you know, bad kicking, bad footy. It's the old cliche, mate. You kick points, it's not going to win you games. So, but if you had a kick straight, well, it was all over.
Mm.
You know, they would have won by about 5 or 6 goals or whatever. But he's the guy you go after. He's the one. I mean, I know you can go on to Fogarty. We know what Fogarty doesn't do. Shouldn't be in the side, of course. You know, we've pulled on, like I mentioned in the chat. I feel sorry for Young because he doesn't pick himself. The selectors pick him, so he's not picking himself. But I can understand that when he's playing, it's like made a good point in the chat where his first year he was marking it. Yeah, he was marking everything, but he just seems like he's scared of the ball. Oh, he took that mark late in the last quarter, which probably saved us really.
Mm.
But it looks like he's scared of the ball for some reason. And no, for me, number one person to hang shit on is Harry Mackay. I mean, now that Charlie's gone, he's got more responsibility. Yeah, he's playing halfway up the ground. Who are you going to kick it to? Kemp to me is a VFL player. That's my opinion. He's not an AFL player. I mean, you look at him. He's running around like a lost chook. If you have a look at that, especially that last quarter. But no, Mackay for me is number one target. He's a guy that's supposed to be kicking our goals. And what did he kick tonight?
I think it was 2 goals, too. I think it was there.
Yeah. So no, you can't. You know, it's full forward. You're playing halfway up the ground. Where are you going to kick it to? Bomb it long again. That's what they do in the second half anyway. If you notice that apparently he's got a new game plan. Apparently, what I'm seeing is the same game plan every week.
Mm.
So in the second half, they're going long bombs again.
Yeah.
Now, if you go back to the 2 practice matches, and I watched both of them, all right. Oh yeah, he's okay as a third or second, but he gets lost. Anyway, the two.
I agree with Rayner. I think he's a better as a third tall, which I said it last year as well. It would have been perfect if we kept Charlie. I think we probably would have got the most out of Kemp if he was that third tall. He has played in those games as well when Harry, either one of Harry or Charlie were injured, and he was playing that second fiddle. And then I think there was a couple of games there where, because I think he kicked 5 goals in the game before he got injured. It may have been in last year, when where you got one of the 2, Harry or Charlie, were injured and actually looked pretty good. But yeah, I think that's probably part of the issue is he's being made to play a bit, in a role with a bit more responsibility compared to what he probably should be. But yeah, I get your point.
He's getting thrown around, forward back. He's getting thrown around. So, it's kind of. But the 2 preseason games that I watched, you know, the Lions and Cats, that it was totally different. That I mean, I know they're practice matches, but they were lowering their eyes going forward. And then when the real stuff happens, it's nothing like that. You know, it's just nothing like it. So they did it in pre-season. Why can't they do it in the main games? You know, why can't they? Instead of just bombing it long, you're only bombing it to really one tall now, aren't you? Where before you had competition with Charlie and Harry going for the same ball.
Yeah, it's a big issue, and it's the one thing that stands out to me is, and the third and fourth quarter, it was compounded and looked worse. But when we had the ball at sort of the midway point, and we didn't know what to do with it, well, like if we got the ball through turnover, a free kick, or whatever, we looked forward, and instead of moving the ball with pace, we stopped and waited. And Richmond, of course, they were just flooding our forward line, like their defense. And every team does it deliberately now because they know that we don't move the ball with any speed whatsoever, and it allows them to just congest the forward 50, and we are forced to just bomb long. They force us into that style of play, but we also force ourselves into that style of play because, again, as I've spoken about, Voss has this fascination with pressing our forwards up the ground into our defensive half, forcing a turnover. But the issue with that is, yes, that may be good in forcing a turnover, but when you have the football, you want to be using the ball quickly, and you can't because there's no one forward of the ball in our forward half to kick to. So we're forced to stay with the football and wait for someone to run forward, which, again, we're running forward with defenders and with opponents, and it takes away any advantage that you may get by forcing a turnover. Like, at least if you're going to play that style of game, have someone there to kick to, whether it be one player or two players, if it's Harry or if it's Kemp or even if it's one of our smalls. It doesn't evolve. Like, if you want to have that game style, sure, go ahead with it, but just tweak it with things like that to try and just, I guess, just mold it into a style that is maybe something that is workable, that may be a bit more successful if you tweak it a bit more. But again, it's, as you said, we're just going with the same style week after week after week, and it's not working.
No, it's look, I don't see anything. He doesn't have a plan B, especially second half. He's got no idea in the second half. I mean, I don't know who's coaching down there. It's the same as last year, but I look, I just can't see him lasting. I'm not a fan of really coaches getting sacked. I mean, we've had enough. 6 in the last whatever years we've had sacked, but the writing could be on the wall for this bloke because they haven't renewed his contract. And the only other thing is, who do we get? That's the problem. Who do we replace him? That's going to be the huge problem, right? Now, there's that rumor about McRae and stuff, and you worked at the Collingwood Football Club, and you probably met him and stuff like that. But I don't know, just rumors. Yeah, he was smiling. He was smiling like anything. He was giving the good old smile. Don't worry about that. I think
this is the very first screenshot. Well, I haven't screenshot it. This is literally the video that I've got queued up from the A4 website, and this is the first frame that they're showing before he kicks off with the first question. And I know he's smiling off the back of a win, but if it were me, I always compare it to other coaches out there, like a Sam Mitchell. I can't recall the game, but there was a game last year where the Hawks had just fallen over the line, and he was filthy. He was like, "This is not the style of game that I want to see us play." We lowered our colors, all that sort of stuff, and it's like, I know some people out there would be like, "Oh, but you've won the game." It's a bigger picture. You don't just win games against lowly opponents in Richmond that are developing their players with such an inexperienced team, and it counts for more. If you are beating a team, you're just limping across the line. That's not a win in my eyes. That's something that, okay, you've just ticked a box. You're not actually developing the team as a whole, and you're not working on any deficiencies that we've seen in round zero, but also extending back to 2025 and most of 2024. It's so frustrating.
That's when it's funny you put that screenshot up, because when I clicked on the presser, that's the first thing I saw. Before a question was even, he's laughing his head off. I mean, and after the game he did a fist pump. I mean, that's surely because the pressure's off him or something. Yeah. Something happened there to do something like that. I'm safe for this week. If he had lost tonight, big trouble. That's what I reckon would have happened. I reckon 100%. I reckon there would have been a meeting called and say, hang on a minute. No, we can't have this. So,
yeah, I think it's kind of I know, because we've sacked so many coaches across the journey, and it's obviously not a good thing. But it's almost, I fear that we've gone too far in the other direction, and it's like, no, we have to back in the coach because our past behaviors should now dictate the way that we should be behaving going forward, which I don't think is a good thing. I think you should always react based upon the current situation you're in. Like, yes, you look back and you say, okay, that's happened, but that is unique in itself. We shouldn't be using that to then dictate, okay, we should be backing in the current coach no matter what. I don't think you should be going about things like that. You should be reacting based upon what's presented in front of you, which kind of I'm a little bit worried about that. And I was worried about Graham Wright backing him in off the back of that and being like, no, we have to be, together. We have to be stronger together. The old slogan, which is on the scarf behind me. And I think that, I don't like to use the word wokeism, but it's kind of like just being positive for positive sake. And you've got to be reactionary, I think, as well. And as I said, there's no romanticism in AFL. And if you're not getting the results, well, I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. If you're a coach, if you're a player, I don't care if you're a nice bloke, if you're the nicest bloke in the world, if you're a Craig McRae, if you're not getting results, you're not fit for the position. So I just don't want this win to be papering over the cracks. Almost, I said at the very top of this this episode that I sat in my seat when the siren went. Everyone up around me jumped up in the air. And I guess it's a lot of relief, but I was so frustrated. I was like, I almost would have preferred us to lose the game because we didn't really deserve to win. I know we played pretty well in the first quarter especially, but we fell away from there. But I don't want us to be prolonging the inevitable. And if we have to eventually get rid of the senior coach, I much prefer it to happen sooner rather than later. And I remember Essendon. I know Essendon's gone through the issues as well. And when they had Ben Rutten at the helm, I think they went on a streak where they were winning games. And I was speaking to Essendon supporters, and my brother-in-law, is a big Essendon fan, he was of that mindset, like, I'm still seeing all these deficiencies, all these issues in game, and we may be getting results, but we're not getting, the results which long-term will dictate that we're going to be a successful team. And what ended up happening, Ben Rutten ended up getting the arse. And now they're questioning whether or not they went for the right coach. I mean, they're not getting results either, but there's a whole heap of other issues at the Dons. But separate to us, we are kind of in this position now where we're not getting results, and we should be ahead of where we currently are. And I think that people have kind of been lulled into this mindset of now we're developing. We've no longer got Charlie there. We've no longer got TDK there. Silvani was injured more often than he wasn't. But
two good players. Two good players.
Two very good players, 100%. But we've got to remember as well, like Charlie wasn't in any form last year as well. So we're kind of all at sea with him when he was on field. And TDK, I think, is probably the biggest loss of the lot. He provides so much for us. Pito is doing a valiant job for sure. But
I'm not a fan of Pito, but he's doing well.
He is.
He's doing well. I'm actually surprised. But look, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go now, but look, it's just one of those things that there's no one in the background that we know. The only ones we know is Longmire and Simpson, who's at the club. And what is he doing at the club anyway? I've got no idea. He's only there for 1 day. He's only there for 1 day. What is he doing down there? So we got to look at who we're going to replace him with. He just can't. He's going to be a caretaker coach no matter what. But who do we go? Who do we go after? That's the thing. There's no one really out there, right? And look, I just can't see him lasting. Look, I can ask the question: is he going to win us a grand final? No, he's not going to win us a grand final. I can't see him win with the game plan that he's got. There's no way on earth that he can win us a grand final. We're playing a half of footy. Anyway, I'm going to jump down. Thanks very much for having me on the panel. Good to see you again. And
you too, mate.
And we'll catch up again some other time. Thank you very much.
No worries. All the best, mate. Take care, and we'll catch you for the next one.
See you, mate. Bye.
See you, mate.
See you.
Well, we might wrap things up in a moment, but just speaking to Adam Simpson, quick Google there, courtesy of Google AI, just summarising things there. So Adam Simpson has a part-time coaching, mentoring and consultancy role, works behind the scenes with Voss and the coaching group, provides an objective bird's eye view without being directly player facing. And like Jack said there, that he's only in the club for 1 or 2 days a week, if that. And it says there, time commitment. The role is part-time, expected to involve attendance a few times a month during the season. So it seems as though he's not there on game day, which I think Voss kind of needs. He's at that point where he needs someone to almost hold his hand, I think, to lean upon. And the influence of Adam Simpson, I think, is not cutting through. If that's the role that he has, I think we probably should be looking at that a little bit closer as to the impact that he's having there. I was going to play a bit of Michael Voss's presser, maybe just to round things out. But I just want to mention here, Jack, as well. You said, and this is Jack Blucher, of course, as a club captain and Brownlow medalist, in my opinion, Cripps' leadership needs to be more. He isn't a goal kicker, obviously, but they could have taken momentum if he kicks those goals. And totally agree. It's a big deficiency in his game. He's a champion player, has been across the journey, as we know, and a great captain. But yeah, he just can't convert those goals in front of goals. I think on the run, I mean, he reminds me a bit of Juddy in a sense that Judd wasn't really one of his kryptonites. One of the few kryptonites that Judd had to his game was he wasn't really much of a goal kicker. But if he was kicking on the run, he convert them. But set shots, not so much. But yeah, a bit of a shame with Cripper because with his size, height, everything else, frame, strength, everything else, he could really prove a weapon for us up forward. And I've been asking for it for ages for him to play up forward more as opposed to going off field and having a rest via those means. But yeah, you just can't rely upon him in front of goals. Rainer, you've said one of my thoughts after the game was who was the last coach sacked after a win? After a win, would have been Simon Goodwin. I think wasn't he sacked after a win? When was he sacked? Let me just have a quick look. I'm pretty sure he was sacked after a win. Yeah, he was sacked after the 83-point win against the Eagles, I think. Just trying to Google this. But from memory, I think it was a massive win. Let us know in the chat if you know. But I'm pretty sure it was. I'm just having a quick look. Days after. I think it was against the Eagles. Yeah, beat West Coast by 83 points last weekend. Just reading an article here. There you go. So this is through the AFL website. And this was, so at round 20, there were 7 wins, 13 losses. Melbourne beat West Coast by 83 points last weekend. The club's dismal on-field fortunes had been reflected a week earlier when the side dropped a 46-point lead at three-quarter time to lose to lowly St Kilda. It does make you think, 100%. 100%. Jack, he is now at the Swans from memory because I think I remember seeing him on the bench for opening round. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. We might play, I mean, this might, if it demonetizes or ruins the copyright side of things after the fact, I may have to remove this, but I just wanted to play and end things with a bit of Vossi's presser. Now, it goes for 9 minutes. Don't know if we'll play the whole thing, but we will play out this. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section if you are tuning in live. But I haven't heard what he had to say. And I did hear on the drive home, I think it was on 3W, caller called in and said that he made a comment about it being not being fun being an AFL coach, which was an interesting thing to say. And I know he's probably referencing the amount of pressure that he has. And yes, he's probably smiling from ear to ear like the Joker because he's had a win after a fair bit of pressure. But again, that pressure's on, mate. That pressure is still there. So let's play Vossi's presser now and let us know your thoughts. We might end it partway through or we might play out the whole thing. We'll see how interesting it is. And I might even just stop and start it from here if there are any comments or any major points that stick out. So let us play this and hopefully you can hear it. Let us know in the comment section if you can.
Oh, we're hanging on. We were hanging on and probably doing it for most of the second half, to be fair. Richmond kept pressing. They own territory on the field. Like you get criticised for, last week not being able to put together a third quarter. And you go away and you reflect on that and it's clearly something obviously we've got to get better at. But what I did ask our boys to do was to fight. And when teams surge, then your ability to be able to hold, it went longer than what I would like. So there's some reinforcement there. But I said to the guys, when you look at a minus 16 odd in inside 50s, when you're looking at 17 forward centres for us, we couldn't keep the ball in our front half. 30 back and centre turnovers, they were able to live in their front half. Just meant we had our backs to the wall. And so all we could do was fight out of it. So you got to begin somewhere, don't you? So that's where we begin. Yeah. Yeah. We'll probably quantify it later. We'll quantify that and go back over it. But clearly we don't execute for long enough. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So, our mode, I think over the last couple of weeks, you've seen a definite style of play. I mean, when you look at this play, you're watching a definite style of play. You can see that.
No, we can't.
Our ability to be able to keep doing that for that longer period is just something as questions being asked of us right now. But when we needed to shift modes, we did. When we needed to hold, we did. And that's something to celebrate.
We didn't shift modes at all. There was no defensive mode.
No, not real. Well, if you look at the contested number, we were minus, I don't know what we were, minus 15, 16 in the third quarter, and we're plus 6 in the last quarter. So we're still up against in the last quarter, and we won contested possession. So I think that's sort of at least a shift in the right direction, and maybe probably the reason why we gave us a chance to win. But mate, we're losing way too much content. Like, LDLs were losing, stoppages were losing. We just couldn't get field position, and then when we did it, just come out too quick. So yeah, there's a few things to go away, but when we talk about expectations and we talk about getting wins, we're going to celebrate these. So we're going to make sure that we acknowledge it and get the 4 points. And now we've got
it's more cliches.
2 weeks before our next game. We go into that little bye 1-on-1, and that's makes you feel like we'll have 3 days off, and you sort of walk in and feel good about yourself.
You touched on it briefly just then in terms of some key statistics. Are those statistics that were a little bit concerning tonight same as the ones last week?
No, they were. No, well, yeah, field dominance. Yeah, it was. We were losing inside 50s, and there was a lot of goals kicked. So, look, I think we just sort of take stock, but I really don't want to take away, what we're able to win tonight. Rivalries are really hard. It doesn't matter where you are on the ladder. I talk to our playing group a lot about this, and you can sort of you can either just be a voice, just a face speaking.
You can't hide behind that.
But do you listen? Because the reality is that these games, whether it's versus Collingwood, with Richmond, they're hard-fought wins. It's round one. The competition is not settled yet. So to be able to get these sorts of wins are really important in the bigger scope of the season. And tonight was a little bit about our club. We've been targeted throughout the whole week. Both inside and out. And, we get away for a win, and I'm just pleased that our supporters can walk away and have a smile on their face and wear their jumper with pride and have their scars around their neck. And we want to keep bringing that, and hopefully there's more opportunities to be able to do that.
Can he roll out any more cliches? Sorry to pause this, but I just feel the need to comment here. So he has virtually used as a bit of a shield the fact that we're great rivals with Richmond. Doesn't matter where you are on the table. And then he talks in the next breath about quantifying things in terms of looking at stats and contextualizing things off the back of that. You can't have both. If you look at the stats, you look at how inexperienced Richmond were, the number of players that they have. I mean, they had a debutant tonight, but also players that have only played at senior level for a full season. Guys that probably shouldn't have the experience to, almost win a game against a side like us, who we've got so many experienced players, but also playing a brand of football that is so one-dimensional. And then talking about the style of play as well. And he says that we've shifted modes and shifted gears or some shit. Mate, we did not change at all. It was so one-dimensional. Again, kicking down the line, no use of corridor, being forced onto the skinny side of the ground, and the opponents, when they caused a turnover on the fat side, had so much space to run into, and we did not have any setup to counter that. And it just shits me when he goes through that and says, look at all the positives out of things and all that sort of stuff. It's just really is frustrating. So let's continue on.
No, I'm pleased. I'm not sitting in the relief basket. I mean, when you got 4 minutes to go and you've got no control over what happens next, I mean, that's always the difficult part, isn't it, of coaching? But over to the players. And so we ask them to execute. I mean, you can judge for yourself whether that was a free kick late or not. I'll let you go to work on that one. But, in terms of being able to activate what we needed late in the game, we activated pretty well. And then we obviously were able to get the win in the end.
Last year, they got the win, but may not have deserved it. Tonight, they didn't, and you felt they probably did deserve it. Is that a fair assessment?
I can't stress enough the old's the old. The new's the new.
Doesn't want to reflect.
So I don't look like it's 12 months ago. All this sort of stuff and about what happened last year.
It's part of the issue.
This, keep having the conversation, but don't have it in here with me. It's all about now, moving forward. And that's what we're going to continue to reference. So today, we'll treat the game as this game, and the lessons we need to be able to take out of this game that'll help us get better, both from a game style point of view, and then also being able to take our moments when we have them.
Which is incredibly worrying, because I know you obviously shouldn't harp upon what happened in the equivalent game last year, but you also should be putting the groundwork to work out, okay, well, why did we lose the game last year? What were the deficiencies and how will they be worked upon? Then you look at matchups, everything else, and it's like far out. Like if you're not looking back to then improve yourself going forward, what are you doing? You're virtually just chasing your own tail, because again, what he's just mentioned there is reflected upon his one-dimensional game plan. He does not want to look back upon what's happened, why things aren't working, in order to try and adapt things going forward. So very, very worrying. Very, very worrying.
Yeah, Michael.
Throwaway line, but worrying.
You must have been delighted with the
Probably
game
till the end of this presser, mate.
32 disposals. And
We might have you on for a bit if you want.
Key moments in the match.
Yeah, and looking at the other guy on the other side was pretty impressive as well. So they're going to be two very good players for their respective teams. We're a huge fan of Jagger. To think that he's still got things that he's got to work on his game, and as he gets intensity in AFL football, he's going to be some sort of player for us. So really pleased, especially even with Harry, we're asking Harry to play almost beyond his years for a key position player, and he just keeps showing up. He's just got that Dean competitive gene, and he's such a great mannered person. And he's a real competitor, and so having those two guys in our team is going to help us moving forward, no doubt.
And the flexibility to be able to move Mitchell going forward, and then late in the game, Zach Williams. What was the thought process from your perspective about that move?
Well, we talked a little bit pre as coaches that we will just try and find that opportunity when we do that. We sort of felt like late with the ball going in long and high, that having Gov back would probably help us a little bit, and just try and find that little bit of spark, that maybe a little bit of X factor from Zach, which he does. And he took the mark and kicked the goal. What a clutch goal that he kicked. So it turned out well. They don't always turn out exactly as you want, but on this occasion, obviously he was able to take the mark and kick the goal. So it suited both ends for us at that particular time.
You said earlier.
Just quickly, this only goes for another minute and 40, 50 seconds. Credit where credit's due. Like that move of Zach pushing forward late in the match to obviously kick that sealer. Good move. So there are positives. It's not all negative for Vossi and the assistants, but yeah, by and large, wasn't a very good coach match.
The club had been targeted all week. Did you use that as impetus at all? And
No, not
motivation?
really, because our noise, what we want to create is moments inside the four walls, and we want to continue to celebrate our people and all those moments, and we want to bring everyone on the journey with us. We're really fortunate football club in that We know how to energise stadiums. We've got a really passionate supporter base. We want to play for them. And we look forward every time we come out and play that we get the opportunity to be able to play in front of our supporters. So I feel like this one's for our club. I really do. It's hard fought. It wasn't exactly the way we want it. There was no bow on it. We had to work for it and we got it. And I'm just really pleased that for our club that we're able to do that.
Is it harder or more frustrating in a way to try to block out that outside noise when it's purely things outside of your control?
And that's why you can. So what do you listen to? And it's, I could stress enough that we've spent a lot of time within our group ensuring that we value what is happening on the inside, and we see what's happening inside, and we've seen the shift in that energy. This meant a lot to our players tonight to be able to get the job done. But we're not looking at it as through rose-coloured glasses either. There's some realness in where we are. We accept that we're not the finished product. We have work to do, but what we won't do is not celebrate when we need to, because you work very hard for those moments to sing that song. You work very hard to have those moments in the locker room together, doing something like that together. And so we will celebrate it, and we won't be taking our eyes off that no matter what anyone says. Cheers. Thank you.
Interesting, and very apt to end on a bloke there with his hairy back about to be waxed, which kind of summarises, I think, the match that we saw tonight. Let's patch in now just ever so quickly. We might wrap it up after this. We might, patch him in. It is the man, only Carlton, because it's 2:45 a.m. and I've got to work. It is a luxury to work for myself, but I do have to do some work. I was going to say tomorrow, but it is today. So we might cap this for about a 5-10 minute chat. It is the man himself. It is only Carlton. How are you, mates? What did you? First and foremost, great to have you on, mates.
It's great to be
game
on, bro.
tonight.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Oh, it's let us know your thoughts. Let us know top line what you thought, and feel free to delve into. We've kind of, as you probably imagined, gone through the stats, gone through, the selection issues, gone through the lack of, changes, the one-dimensional plays that we see us lapsing back into, kicking down the line, entries inside forward 50. What were your thoughts in a nutshell?
It was just a shit show. It was probably the worst win I've seen ever. I'm 20 years old. I've been watching for 15 years. It's probably one of the worst wins I've seen. But again, like Vossi said in the presser, I actually really liked what he said at the end. He's like, it's not, we're not looking at it through rose-colored glasses, but we're still going to take the win where we can get. And that's consistency between like what he said in the summer interview as well. He's like, last year we got caught up in the moments of not, living in the moment, not taking what we got. We're so caught up in like, oh, we should be a top 4 team, should be a top 6 team, should be beating this team, that we didn't enjoy any wins last year. And I feel like culture was a big issue this year. Like, I'm not even going to talk about the game, bro. The game was a shit show. I mean, I'm sure you already went over it. It was just like, I just want to see change in the culture. That's all I want to see. That's all we can look for now, really. Because we're a worse team, bro. Like I said this before. People they're kicking and screaming. I'm not sure what your perception of the game was. Were you happy after that win, or were you pissed off?
I started this review with just by saying that, like, when the siren went, it was one of the few wins where I didn't jump up from my seat and celebrate such a close win. I just literally sat there in my seat.
Yeah.
More disappointing, I think, reflecting upon what we've witnessed. And I can understand people as well getting caught up in the moment and be like, yes, like, it's a win and it's great to win. But I'm just kind of at the point now where I'm forecasting my mind forward and thinking about, okay, well, is this going to help us in the long run, or is this going to potentially paper over cracks and then maybe see us down the line, prolonging something that may be, occurring in terms of a change in personnel? I'm talking just obviously about Michael Voss there, but just in terms of what we've seen and consistency and falling back into old habits. And, it's one of those things where I just sat there on my seat and I was just like, it doesn't feel like we won, or we should have won. I think Richmond probably lost the game. It's all cliche, but I think that if they had a bit more polish, if we were playing a team like a Brisbane, it was kind of like what we saw last week against the Swans would have happened again if we were playing a Brisbane or Sydney again. We would have been smashed. We would have conceded 12 goals in a row. And it's no real surprise. And the fact that we played to that same level again, we had those same deficiencies, just, it gave me with a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth, being like, I don't know why we continue having the same issues. But I don't know. That was kind of my perspective. I don't know if you were any different, but yeah.
I mean, look, I wasn't over the moon, but I was like, it's a win, right? It's hard. And I think my perception of us as a team has changed, especially after this game. I think halfway through that game, I was like, so coming into the season, I was like, you know what, we have a ceiling of maybe 7th to like 10th, maybe 11th. Now I'm like, bro, we're not a good team. Like, I see people being like, oh, we're not going to accept mediocrity. We're a mediocre team. That's just where we are. I reckon we're like 14th to 10th best case scenario. Best case, right? I think we got to just not accept mediocrity, but we're not a team that's going to contend for finals in the next couple of years.
Nah.
We're not going to do that. Like, with the list we have, we've gotten worse over the off season. We've gotten worse. Right? We lost Kerno, we lost TDK, we lost Silvani, replaced them with what? Hayward, Ainsworth, and Pitto. Pitto's our ruck, right? Pitto's been great, by the way. No disrespect to him. I think he's had a career resurgence.
Oh, incredible.
It's been great. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've gotten worse. And if you think about it, I don't want to play this card. We lost last year with Kerno, with TDK and Silvani against Richmond. This year we won. I think we just gotta like relax a bit. Everyone's got, like, I'm seeing people treat it like a massive loss. Like, it's not a good win. Don't get me wrong. It's nothing to write home about. But we're not a good team. I think people got to start clocking it that we're not a good team this year.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And I think that perspective is important to have, because we probably went last year from being the lofty heights of like going to the season like, a top 4 contender, and going from where we thought we were then to now. I think there are some people that are kind of just clinging onto that hope, like, oh, we should be a team that's contending. There's no way, shape, or form we're going to be winning the flag. There's no way. And I think what you said there is probably it's a smart and refreshing perspective to have, that we're not going to be of any decent quality. And I think for me, from my perspective, it's more just I just want to see improvement, or you want to see things that I would love to see us. I'm thinking back to 2023. In the first part of that season, we were dog shit, and we were probably similar to what we're performing like now. But that was 3 years ago. But the back part of the year, we started just balls to the wall, just trying new things, using the corridor more, taking risks. And I just want to see us doing that, like just experimenting. And the fact that we're not trying any new things, I don't think we did against the Swans in the first quarter and a bit. We were kind of like kicking it wide and then switching the play, using the corridor. And as you would know as well, being down at open training and going to different sessions there and seeing the way that we were trying to adapt different ways of moving the ball was awesome to see. And in the first part of the Swans game, or at least the first quarter, from what I saw, I was like, shit, we're actually applying what we were training for across the preseason. And then it was like, as soon as the Swans with their quality, put the pressure upon us, we just lapsed back into the old habits. And, it's probably a combination of coaching, players, psychologically, lapsing back into, oh shit, okay, this is the safety, just bombing it long and wiping my hands of any responsibility type stuff. So yeah, it's frustrating to watch, but yeah, it's kind of like, I think we need to have some perspective there. It's just worrying. I think that against better quality opponents in Sydney, I think it's to be expected, but are we worse than Richmond? That's the thing. It's like, are they now bypassing us? That's kind of my next thought.
See, I genuinely think we're a team that's 4 points better than Richmond. I think that I think that win reflects on where we are as a team. I don't think Richmond are bad. I think they'll push up the ladder if anything.
Oh,
I think they'll finish 14th. The way they played was amazing. The way they ran through in that second half, they didn't let us kick like way over them in the first half either. We came hard in that first half, and they were right there with us. Right? They call us first half specialists. We were only up by 30 points against a bottom 2 side. So
yeah,
look, man, I don't know. Like it's hard, like you said, in open training, you see the change and you see the game plan. But I just see it's different, like, because we're still playing that same boring defensive style. Like, I see it. Like, we played Ben Ainsworth in the Jesse Moore like just him hot role of him
Mm.
like running back to the back. Ainsworth had 8 touches. I'm pretty sure 60% of them were in the back line, in the defensive half. That's not what you want Ben Ainsworth. Is that what we recruited him for?
No.
So it's stuff like that where like halfway through the fourth quarter, we gave up. Boss sent Kemp back, Fogarty back, Ainsworth was running back, and we just try to hold on to a 1-goal lead. I think it's just panic. I think there's panic like deep-seated in our club, in the players, in the coaching group, everything.
Mm.
So it's just something you got to work through. It's just something you have to work through.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think it's one of those things as well where I think momentum shifts is such a big thing. And we saw that last week, obviously, against the Swans, but it perplexes me that we make moves, and Voss spoke about it himself, and he was quizzed on it, like the Zachy Williams pushing forward, which was great. But I think we need to make moves earlier than actually what we are. And I think when Richmond started kicking consecutive goals, and I mean they were kicking wayward, as we saw with Tom Lynch, but like we should have been a bit more defensive then. And like I don't know what happened to the old school, like slow down the play type thing, maintain possession. Like the teams that do that, we don't seem to do that anymore. It's more just like press every forward into the defensive half, cause a turnover, and then we're forcing ourselves to play a slow style of the game because there's no one forward of the ball to kick to, which is an issue in itself. But it's just when they do that, oppositions counter it by being like, okay, well, we'll just run with you because you're not going to be ahead of the play to kick to. So I think it's kind of like a catch-22 where we do that in order to force a turnover, but then in doing so, we don't open up the attacking play side of things, and it's just like, what do? We just kick backwards? Do we kick sideways? No, it's just kick long. So I think it's like that's the only attacking style is what we have with that press. Is just like kicking down the line and kick to a contest. Hopefully we can halve the contest. But they set up so well, and Sydney did as well, where they have like the outside runners follow the ball, handball out of issues, and then they use the corridor, which we're not kind of set up for. And I don't know, it's just hopefully it's an evolving thing, but it hasn't been evolving for at least 24 rounds of the season and probably 48 rounds if we count the last 2 seasons. But yeah, you're right. I think it's elements of different things, and we're probably in for a pretty bad season, I think, coming up, or an ordinary season. Let's call it that. Yeah, it's going to be a very long year.
It'll be a long year. Yeah. Anyways, I'll let you go. Thanks for having me on. It's 3:00 at night. Crazy.
Easy,
I can't believe you're still
no
on.
worries.
Can't believe you're
no,
still
exactly
on.
right. It's gone very quick. It's gone very quick. That's for sure. I've almost been doing it for 2 hours, and I said initially, I looked like a second ago, and it was like an hour, and I was like, okay, let's start wrapping it up. And then we had Jack, who was on before, which I think I was too nice to let him on. I should have been like, no, we'll maybe do another live for the preview episode, or maybe over the bye period. So, but always good to have common folk on and fellow baggers. So good to have you on for the first time, mate.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. Happy to be here.
Awesome, mate. All the best, and we'll chat to you sometime soon, I'm sure.
Done. Catch you.
All the best, mate. Have a good one. Take care.
See you. Bye-bye.
Well, with that, ladies and gents, we might wrap things up there. Thanks again for tuning in. It has been a long session, but a cathartic one at that. I feel much better, that is for sure. If you are tuning in for the first time and you are yet to subscribe, feel free to do so. You will be notified of when our content does drop. Of course, we do previews, we do reviews. We might actually be doing some new content as well. We might maybe use the bye period to unveil that. We'll see how we go. With time up our sleeve, we might do a bit of a historical harping back type, quiz type live stream. So we'll see how we go with that. But as I said, if you enjoy our content, enjoy the chats, analysis, everything else, feel free to give us a subscribe on YouTube. If you are tuning into the audio podcast side of things, you can likewise follow our podcast as well. And you can give us a rating, give us a review as well if you so please. And we appreciate all the support that you do give us across both platforms. But with that, ladies and gents, we will end things there. Thank you as always for tuning in. And we got the win, end of the day. But just hopefully we reflect upon, again, as I said, post-match of the Swans game, the deficiencies and look at ways to improve it, because, we seem to be lapsing, and it's a Groundhog Day or Groundhog Week, almost a Groundhog year Hopefully it's not. But with it, ladies and gents, thanks as always for tuning in, and we will catch you in the next one. We'll see you then. Cheers.